Yggdrasil is a DMMORPG, dive massively multiplayer online role-playing game, which is developed in Japan. There was one point when this game was super famous and had a lot of addicted players. The games allow players to create their clans, dungeons, and teams. It's a fictional new world where players can do anything they want to their character and its sets of stories. Unfortunately, after several years passed, people started to forget this game and those players are never going online again. One day before the game server is going to be closed permanently, one of its players under the alias Momanga is still online. It seems like Momanga likes this game and decided to play it until the server is closed. The other player, Hiro, is also online but only comes briefly to check the game lobby. After a brief conversation between those two, Hiro goes offline again. It is narrated by Momanga that when the game was still popular, other players played together with him. He and his online game friends later form a clan in their guild called Great Tomb of Nezarec. The head of the dungeon is Momanga, and his avatar appears like a creepy undead skull. His clan also owns a mighty weapon named Staff of Einzulgaun, which consists of many stones with great powers. In the games, Momanga has a high level and the Great Tomb of Nezarec is widely renowned for being an unconquerable dungeon throughout Yggdrasil. So on the last day of the server, Momanga takes the mighty weapon stroll around the dungeons. Because no other players exist, his only companies are NPC which were created by him and his online friends in the past. They also have a protector role and occasionally help Momanga and his clan to defend their guild from intruders. Sometime before the game server is closed, Momanga only has interactions with his NPC followers, the head of the servers named Sabas, and an NPC called Albedo. Albedo is the overseer of the Guardians of the Great Tomb of Nezarec. Her character is programmed by one of Momanga's online friends. Since it's the last day he can play the game, the cheeky Momanga then made some changes to Albedo's personality. Finally, the time comes for the server to be closed permanently by its developer. Surprisingly, he is trapped in the game world and those NPCs started to act like normal real players. He can communicate with them without using any commands from the game console. Momanga also can contact the administrator of the game, leaving himself all alone in that strange game world. Momanga doesn't understand how the new world works and he can't contact other players. To make sure that it's a new world that he experienced, he makes some experiments and moves toward Albedo. He finds out that Albedo now has a lovely smell, a function that previously never existed in the game. He also finds out that Albedo has a pulse and can respond to his touch like a normal person. Momanga is confused. He knows that it's just an imaginary world but it feels a little bit too real for him. He then decides to check the other NPC and his magic ability. Momanga also orders Sabas to check their surroundings and reports back to him immediately. To check out the other NPC and his ability, Momanga goes to the 6th floor to meet Aura and Mare. The 6th floor of his dungeons is a grand arena where people can practice fighting. Aura and Mare are twins NPC who serve as the 6th floor guardian. It turns out that Momanga still has his magic ability and those twin NPC also remained loyal to him. They practice fighting together for a bit before all other floor guardians come to gather in that grand arena. Floor guardians that are coming to the amphitheater are Shaltir Bloodfallen, the guardian of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor, the 5th floor guardian Cocytus, the 7th floor guardian Demiurge, the twins, and Albedo. All of them pay respect to Momanga and introduce themselves to Momanga before pledging their loyalty to him. After all those floor guardians pledge their loyalty to him, Sabas presents himself in front of Momanga to report his observations. It seems like their guild has been moved to a new place. Sabas says there are no swamps around them like usual. Their surroundings are now only lowlands. Worried that his dungeon is in danger, Momanga immediately orders Albedo and Demiurge to build a sharing information system so they can send signals to each other. He also orders them to build a strong defensive system. To protect the guild, Momanga later allows the twins to cover the whole Nezarec with soil to hide their existence. After Momanga leaves the grand arena, Shaltir and Albedo run into a fight. They are both eager to get Momanga's affection. It's a ridiculous fight and not too long after that, all the floor guardians dismiss and they start to go back to doing their job. Meanwhile, in his room, Momanga starts to feel some changes in his body. He doesn't feel hungry. He also doesn't feel sleepy and his libido has decreased. However, there is no change in his magic ability. Momanga later used his magic to disguise himself in armor. He needs to observe his new world by himself. Although at first, he wanted to go by himself, he later let Demiurge accompany him. He admits that to survive in this unknown world, he needs to know the surroundings. Momong also starts to consider the ability of the existence of the other inhabitants in this imaginary world. After checking the new world, Momong and Demiurge observe Mare's work together. Admiring Mare's strength to cover the whole guild with soil, Momong later gives him a ring as a gift. He also gives the same ring to Albedo to help her do her job more effectively. Before leaving, Momong cheers up his NPC servers to work diligently. It is later revealed that there are indeed other inhabitants in that imaginary world. They look like normal humans. It seems like there is war in that land. After one another fight, there are always some victims and burned villages. There were also betrayals among the kingdoms, but the problem remained unclear. In the guild, Momong learns how to use a mirror of remote viewing. Like its name, the mirror can show the guild's surroundings, and it's very useful for supervising the guild. While checking the surroundings, Momong learns that several knights are attacking a village near Nazarick. At first, he doesn't want to help, stating that the fights aren't their business at all. Suddenly he remembers how one of his friends, Touch Me, the creator of Sabas, helped him in one of the fights in the previous version's game. Momong later decides to pay back this good deed by helping the village. Momong automatically overpowers those human knights with his high-level magic. During the fight, he finds out that he now needs a human sacrifice to be able to create an undead knight. The undead knight that was created by Momong fights those knights fiercely. Before the end of the day, those knights are defeated. To prevent those humans from being afraid of his appearance, Momong wears a mask. After those fights, he then spared some of those knights' lives. Momong later explains to the people he saves that he is a wizard. They are still afraid of his skull appearance but start to respect him after finding out that he isn't the bad guy. Momong doesn't save the village for free. He then asks the head village to provide him with information. After all, he still needs to know his new world better to survive. Momong later finds out that the Yggdrasil's currency can't be used in the new world. People prefer gold. Momong also asks the head village about the kingdom around his guild. The Great Tomb of Nazarick along with the village is a part of the Riesti's kingdom. Near them, there is another kingdom called the Baharuth Empire. In the south, there is another kingdom called the Slain Theocracy. All countries are on bad terms with each other. Momong assumes that the attackers of the village are from the Baharuth Empire. However, it all could be set by the Slain Theocracy to make Riestis and Baharuth fight each other. The head village also informs him that the closest city is Irantal. The new world doesn't only consist of humans, but also wizards, monsters, goblins, and other creatures. Momong thinks it will be better if he can travel to Irantal to collect information. Right before Momong goes back to Nazarick, the royal army of the Riesti's kingdom arrives in the village. Momong meets the chief of the army, Gazef, and then introduces himself as a wizard. Gazef thanks him for saving the village. The fight isn't over yet since unknown figures start to surround the village. That's the end of part 1. Thank you so much for staying with us until the end. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel for more updates. Please turn on your notifications, so you won't miss part 2. See you in the next videos.